The Dark Souls franchise is a series of very hard action RPGs with a focus on the player dying constantly and retrying areas to progress. This death and rebirth mechanic is always tied into the actual plot of the game, as the series is a bunch of dirge-like meditations on what constant rebirth would cost and how death is inevitable. They are highly acclaimed games that can be achingly artistic in their grimness. And fans have still found a way to make it fucky.
I brought you 10 smoking hot Souls waifus for your stocking.
But this video is about the greatest Dark Souls waifus. And to make myself feel like less of a sad sap, I'm going to be throwing you all under the bus as well.
But who is the best level up lady? Who is the strongest? Who supports their champion the best?
Today I am going to be ranking the sexual attractiveness of fictional characters in a video game.
Now that's more than a little strange considering the series doesn't really focus on characters and its distinct lack of sexualized designs. With one major exception, we'll get there. The internet's ability to make anything fucky is of course legendary, but it's still such an odd franchise to approach for this. Though oftentimes beautiful, it's clear that the budget was mostly spent on grand sweeping vistas and precise enemy attack animations. The rare non-hostile NPC you meet is always cryptic and unhelpful, and the series didn't even bother having lip flaps until the latest game. And yes, this video is counting Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. They all fit the pattern I noticed. Deal with it. Language isn't perfect, only my ass is perfect. Now on some level I'm sure the brutal difficulty is why people latch on so hard to the few non-hostile NPCs there are. A creepy sounding merchant whose sword is his wife isn't much of a character, but after getting backstabbed by phantoms and firebombed by skeletons for half an hour, you will take what you can get. But what you notice when you look at these games as a whole is that the series has an odd habit of giving the player character a woman who takes care of them. In Demon Souls, you have Pancakes for Eyes Lady, who seems to be the one trapping all these souls in this quest to kill the big bad demon. She is the only source of level ups in the game, back at the hub with soul magic, and she is intimately tied in with which ending you get regarding the big bad demon. In Dark Souls 2, we have the Emerald Herald, who serves a similar purpose of doling out level ups. She doesn't really seem to have a lot to do with the plot, but she definitely knows about what's happening. You'll see her popping up in some late game areas, dropping exposition, and she may be part dragon? I'm not sure, these games are notoriously vague. In Dark Souls 3, we get the Firekeeper handling the level ups. They don't really do much, but they are explicitly shown to be one in a long line of Firekeepers, with a big pile of similarly dressed corpses nearby. Bloodborne, we get the doll. This tall ass is really interesting. A lot of great details about her, like how she was designed after someone creepy wheelchair guy knew in real life. For the purposes today, she is the most motherly of the level up ladies back in hubs, and that is extra creepy when you remember that creepy wheelchair guy none too subtly implies you can have sex with the doll.
You're welcome to use whatever you find. Even the doll, should it please you.
I've never been one for splinters in my crotch, but you do you, Gehrman. And in Sekiro, we have Lady Emma, who bucks a lot of trends. She isn't the level up lady, instead upgrading your health flask and cleansing Dragon Rot, which are very important mechanically, so you're still incentivized to visit her a lot. She is deeply tied into the plot and has a lot of connections to the other major characters. And if you decide to take the bad ending, she is a final boss. And she will wreck your shit. Now, of course you noticed that I skipped over Dark Souls 1 in that summation. Dark Souls 1 is notable for not having a level up lady, and it doesn't need one. The player can level up at any functioning bonfire. And I found it rather interesting that the game that does not give the player a maternal figure that cares for them also has the most sexually titillating designs in the franchise. You've just climbed all the way up Anor Londo with its bullshit snipers and ridiculous 2v1 boss fight. All this pain and struggle to reach the peak of the Golden City. You open these doors and...
a giant woman.
Guinevere just has massive tits, and they are right there presented for your viewing pleasure. This reveal is narratively the out-breath, the relief after struggling so hard to reach this point. It was all worth it, just to see them knockers. There's a similar moment down in the depths. After going down at the bottom of the shittiest swamp in the galaxy, the player is tasked with killing Quelaag, who has a very lovely... This shot right here, textbook male gaze. I'm not accusing Dark Souls 1 of being that horny, it's just noticeably hornier than the rest of the franchise. Even with it being the outlier and not having a maternal caregiver look after the player character, it still does tip its hand that this is a franchise that is framed with a het male perspective, which is actually a little mechanically dissonant. See, every game up until Sekiro was an RPG. The player builds a character, names them, equips them, and levels them up how they like, and yes, they are allowed to choose the gender. The game doesn't really care whether you're playing as a man or a woman or a blue fish monster. Seriously, From Software, why do you give us these sliders? We cannot be trusted. But there's basically nothing mechanically related to gender. It doesn't affect your strength stat, it doesn't affect what armor you can equip, it doesn't change how the NPCs refer to you, nothing. I guess there's a slightly different animation for a heavy armor run cycle in Dark Souls 1, but it's not like a secret speedrunner strat. And yet, there is still something very het male about the tenor of the storytelling. You're on an adventure to kill God. You have a woman who watches over your quest, not unlike a goddess. Seeing tits is a reward. The presumed frame of reference of the audience is that of a heterosexual male, because video games. I'm not saying only guys like having a big titty mommy figure in their games. Good lord, we are in a post-Lady Dimitrescu and Bowsette world. And I'm certainly not accusing the FromSoft team of anything. It was almost certainly an unconscious framing. It's not like they came into work one day rubbing their hands in glee at the thought of not making a game for lesbians. And there's also nothing inherently wrong with making a game for heterosexual men. It's just really boring. Everything is already made for them. It's also likely that the level up lady is kept around for mechanical reasons. Only Dark Souls 1 doesn't have this character, and that game is a notable outlier in terms of level design. Dark Souls 3 is packed to the gills with Dark Souls 1 nostalgia, and yet it uses the level up hub. So they clearly do it for a reason, but that doesn't really change my core point. Doing the default, doing what is expected in terms of storytelling for your target audience, is kind of boring. There's no particular reason the level up NPC can't be a man or a cat or a wingless dragon who sends you on a quest to kill the other dragons in revenge. You see, once you free yourself from your creative assumptions, you can spiral into all sorts of cool directions. Let's go with a concrete example. Backyard baseball. Oh yes, we are going down this rabbit hole together. Backyard Baseball was the first in a very successful line of kids sports games for the PC. The first title features 30 kids, half of whom are girls and half of whom are non-white. Now, that does sound more than a little like lazy 90s style inclusion, but it's a lot better when you get into the weeds. The best pitcher in the game is a kid in a wheelchair, and one of the best batters in the game is a Pakistani kid who rocks out on his headphones. And in an interview I found, because I am a healthy adult who does not have an obsession with this game, the creators went into their thought process. We had these stereotypes in our minds, and then we twist them around a bit, like let's make the baseball nut be a black girl. We kind of had a bucket of kid types and a bucket of ethnicities and genders, and we kind of threw it up in the air and let it all mix up. Now, maybe you should put more thought into it than just mix up randomly, but it's still a pretty solid way to approach characters. Don't just go with your first instinct. Your D&D dwarf does not have to be a drunk. Well, this discussion has drifted a little from the Dark Souls clickbait I started with. Just before we wrap up, I want to assure you that I am not shaming anyone for looting Dark Souls characters. This is a sex-positive space. I have some pictures of Dark Sun Gwendolyn saved to my hard drive that I cannot share here, but they are very... Till next time.